Dear colleagues, I invite the Speaker of the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine on ATO issues, Colonel Andriy Lysenko. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. For your attention, we have an overview of events in ATO area during the last day. Yesterday, the situation in ATO area became worse. The enemy pulled up it's a lot of heavy weaponry to the line of defense, and including artillery 152 millimeters, and started to use it. And along the line of the front, there is a lot of shelling by occupants. Ukrainian troops have to defend and to attack back. And in Avdiivka, as before, the situation, humanitarian situation, is very difficult. Now, in details, more details, Luhansk. Stanich-Luhansky district in village Malinovka, it's on the halfway between Shestya and Luhansk. There was the enemy was shelling about for an hour. On the other side of Syrskyi River, the militants was shelling using cannons and mortars. And later, in that area and in the center, there was provocations, and they used small arms. Novodarsky district, the main hot point was in Krymsk. Occupants shelled 20 times, and they used cannons 122 millimeters. That was in the morning. Later, the enemy shelled upon our positions, and they used BMP. In Rihov and Bakhmut highway, and they used mortars. Popasna district, practically along the front line from Andriy to Troitsky, the enemy used tanks, cannons, and mortars. They were shelling from Peromaisk and other villages, and despite a lot of shelling, the majority of them were up to 30 minutes. So last day on near Luhansk, there was 20 shells of militants, and 9 times they used heavy weaponry. Donetsk, Svetloharsk Duha, in the morning, the enemy didn't use heavy weaponry. They used machine guns, but in the evening, they started to use mortars, and that lasted up to 6 hours. Occupants, they used about 100 mines of different caliber. They were shelling simultaneously upon several of our bases, and they were trying to disorganize the management of our defense. The tactics were not failed. Horlivka perimeter. Military activities were at 2 places in Zaitsev and Novoselivka too, and there they were allowed around 10 shells of the enemy, and they used mortar 2 times quite heavily, and that was in the evening. Avdiivka, they were shelling non-stop. The enemy shelling using from 2 directions, from eastern Yasenovata and the south, that is Spartak. The occupants use mortars, cannons, and tanks in big numbers, and the number of shells is counted by hundreds. And in neighboring positions in Kamenka and Shafta-Butovka, there were several provocations, but the situation is much calmer there. Because of critical situation with the water supplies in Avdiivka, mining engineers from State Emergency Service, together with Joint Center of Control and Coordination, they went to observation and to demining a filtration station of Donetsk. And in case the agreement will be kept on no shelling, the water supplies will start working, and it will take 2 or 3 days. Donetsk airport. There were only 2 shellings of the enemy near Nevelsky and Piske.
Over the last 24 hours, in the next segment, they registered 46 shootings on the part of the rebels, including 21 using the heavy weaponry. Mariupol segment, Marinka district, after 5 p.m., the enemy started a very powerful mortar bombardment of Krasnogorivka for the first several hours. They used mortars, and after they launched over or about 100 mine projectiles, they used additional forces, at least one more mortar battery, tanks, and the artillery guns. They actually near Staromikhailivka, and they shot from Staromikhailivka, and two areas in Donetsk. They wounded a woman who was taken to the hospital in Kurakhove. In the neighboring Mariinka, there was another bombardment using the armed vehicles. Also, they shot at the checkpoint Mariinka. In the section of Paraskoivka, Chermalnik on the front line, yesterday there was unquiet. In particular, the occupationists were active near Bogdanovka, and they used mortars, and also two mortars bombardment took place in Chermalik, and two armed provocations using the small arms. The Pavlopil-Shirokino section of the front line are responsible for 70% of the enemy's bombardment, and the Mariupol segment. They used 122 artillery guns and mortars in Vodene. There were 12 armed incidents in Gnutovo and Shirokino, 7 in each of those. Like in Avdiivka, the number of the projectiles and mines launched is hundreds upon hundreds. Ukrainian soldiers returned the fire. Over the last 24 hours in the Mariupol segment, there were 52 bombardments were registered, 17 using the heavy weaponry. Over the last day, one Ukrainian soldier was killed and 9 were wounded. We offer our condolences to the near and dear of the killed soldier. Former rebel surrendered to the Donetsk police. It has been established during the occupation of Sloviansk. 27-year-old resident of that city patrolled during the nights the streets of this city. Then he was offered to join the armed forces, but he rejected that offer, and then he was hiding in Russia and decided to return to the normal life and surrendered. SBU employees revealed the cache with the ammunition near the ATO area. They revealed over 5,000 cartridges for the small arms near Mariupol. According to the preliminary information, this cache was prepared by the enemy's subversive team. In Zhytomyr, they provided a special training to train the territorial defense squads and teams using being involved in the modern combined arms engagement. And the front line, the military engineers reveal and defuse mines and explosive devices. Yesterday, in the Mariupol segment, the EOD engineers diffused or eliminated the artillery projectiles, which did not explode, and also the projectiles for the grenade launchers. According to the experience, the rebels leave after themselves a lot of different explosives, which are not the Ukrainian-made munitions. We are talking about the mines of MON-50, MON-90 of the Russian make, MPMN, and also the Russian make, and RPG-7 grenade launchers. This exhausts my information. If there are no more questions, this brings us to the end of this briefing. Thank you for your attention. Next briefing will take place at 1300 sharp.